Now see, what happens is, as it is clear from the word itself, post transcription. Post transcription means whatever happens to this RNA after transcription. So the RNA which is produced from DNA, the reaction is occurring in the nucleus only. So it has to undergo different modifications, because this is the RNA which is so produced from DNA has to actually translate the information in the form of proteins by another important process, which is translation. So what happens basically is, this RNA so produce, it is known as hnRNA. This hnRNA means heterogenetic, or it is also known as heavy RNA. Now why it is heavy in nature? Because it consists of two coding sequences. One is exons and another sequence is known as introns. Now exons are actually the coding sequences which will be coding to form proteins. And these introns are, as the word is there, these are the intervening sequences which actually intervene between, or these are obviously non-coding. So basically RNA is heavy because of the presence of these introns into it. So post-transcriptional modification is what? It will be the process of removal of these introns. So these introns need to be removed, because as such, if we see, they don't have any other function to perform. So this process is known as post-transcriptional modification, or there is cutting of these introns. So RNA has to undergo splicing. So the other name of post-transcriptional modification is splicing. And once this process is there, this hnRNA is actually converted into messenger RNA. So in this one slide, I have given you the entire crux, what you mean by this post-transcriptional modification. Now let's study these slides. See, the mRNA formed from DNA is called the primary or hnRNA. It has to undergo modification to become active and mature. Why active? Because it is, again I am telling you, it has to undergo translation process. And this is known as this. And eukaryotic RNA is processed before leaving the nucleus. Because these reactions, replication and transcription, are occurring in the nucleus. But translation is synthesis, yeah, you can say decoding of the information in the form of proteins, which is wholly solely the work of ribosomes. And all of you know that ribosomes are present in the cytoplasm. So once this RNA is modified, it has to be exported from the nucleus to the cytoplasm. Now, how this process occurs? This is a very important slide. These are the 4 important points. First is capping at 5 prime end, because the RNA so produced, I told you in my previous video also, RNA has 5 prime to 3 prime. New strand, whether it is DNA, whether it is RNA, it is formed in this direction. So capping at 3 end takes place, which is done by guanine residue. Poly-A tailing. Poly-A tailing is done by adenine or adenosine residues. Once these two ends are covered, or they are masked from the attack of other nucleases, then this splicing or removal of introns occur, and finally the mRNA is edited. Here you can see, this is a picture, capping and tailing. Now, how this process takes place? This is again a very tedious process, because this reaction takes place in the presence of enzymes. Now, first process is 5 prime capping. You can see 7 methyl guanylate or guanosine residues are attached. Since there is transfer of this, so enzyme would be guanylyl transferase. And it reaction is catalyzed by this enzyme guanine 7-methyl transferase. The methyl group is provided by SAM or S-adenosyl methionine. Basically, always remember what we are doing is we have a string of mRNA. We are protecting it from the attack of other nucleases by blocking two ends. 5' is done by capping by guanosine residues and 3' is done by adenosine residues. Now, this capping requires 3 steps, you can say. And these 3 steps are these. Here you can see guanylyl transferase is there. Then methionine comes, methyl group is there, and 5' end of RNA is capped by the cumulative effect of guanine 7-methyl transferase and O-methyl transferase. This is the question which is generally asked in the exam also. The enzyme responsible for catalyzing capping at 5' end of messenger RNA. So mature mRNA is mined and caps, this is important, stabilizes this against digestion by other nucleases. And eukaryotic RNAs lacking the cap are not translated efficiently because there are chances that other nucleases enzyme group of enzymes can try to digest RNA. So this is what this is 5' capping. Then comes addition of poly A tail. In poly A tail, it is added at 3' end of mRNA, which is done by adenylate residues or adenosine residues. Here you can see, and ATP is the donor. Again, the reason behind this is it is involved in the stabilization of RNA. So this is 5' capping. You can see synthesis of poly A tail. Or now we can say that once capping and tailing is done, this RNA is now resistant to the attack of other nucleases, and now the action of ribozyme will come, or spliceosome will be produced, or introns will be removed. Then comes the splicing. Splicing is cutting off by forming a spliceosome. Now this reaction in which the introns are removed, this process obviously requires energy. And the small nuclei, or you can say SNRPs, are the very, very important part of RNA molecule, which actually helps in the formation of this spliceosome. So how do we define a spliceosome? It is a complex containing SNRPs that contain snRNA that catalyzes hnRNA to mRNA. How it catalyzes? By removing the introns. And once the introns are removed, the entire mRNA chain is synthesized again, or it is joined back. There are certain disorders related to faulty splicing, जैसे beta thalassemia. It is caused by due to faulty splicing of this hnRNA. So splicing is very, very important, and it is again catalyzed by very, very important enzymes. Now here you can see, this is a very good picture. यहाँ पे you can see 5' capping is there and 3' tailing is there. Once this is produced, this is the spliceosome which is produced, because this is the intron which needs to be removed with the help of these SNRPs. Once this spliceosome is removed, the intron goes out and we get a complete mRNA. And you can see the length also. See the length of this exon and see these from here to here. And here you can see it is shortened by giving out introns. Because introns as such, they have no work. It is the intervening sequence which need to be removed. And once this processed RNA is there, it enters into the cytoplasm where it can undergo protein synthesis or translation. Now, cutting off introns, formation of spliceosome itself is an enzyme catalyzed process. Now, how this process is carried out? Here, ribosomes have a role in splicing. Now, what do you mean by ribosomes? Ribozymes. Ribozymes are those in which RNA has a catalytic activity. Or you can say ribosomes are the only enzymes which are not proteins, which are, this is again a very important question. Otherwise, if we see all enzymes are proteins except one, that is nothing but a ribozyme in which transfer RNA has a catalytic activity. Now, what are the different modes of this? How ribosomes act? One is self-splicing, other is formation of a spliceosome. So if we see self-splicing, intron, yeah, RNA itself catalyzes. But if we talk about spliceosomal introns mein there is formation of this spliceosome with the help of SNRPs. Very important. Then the self-splicing introns are of two types, group 1 and group 2. Whereas spliceosomal are not divided into groups. In self-splicing, no ATP is used, and here amount of energy is required, which is given by ATP. Now, what is the difference between group 1 and group 2? In group 1 introns, we can see though lariat formation occurs. Lariat is basically the formation of this type of spliceosome, which I am going to discuss in other slides. And whereas in group 2, splicing takes place, formation of lariat is there. And how it occurs? In group 1 introns, 3' hydroxyl group of guanosine attacks at 5' splice site. Whereas in group 2, 2' hydroxyl group of adenosine attacks at the 5' splice site, forming lariat structure. Let's say we are going to take up the examples one by one. This is the action of group 1 introns. You can see exons. This is the intron. Guanosine is reacting with 3' hydroxyl group, and simple intron is excised, or there is conversion of this to this. This is simply the function of group 1 introns where there is no lariat formation. No lariat formation. And if we compare this group 1 with group 2, group 2 mein you can easily see, one is it binds to the 2' hydroxyl group, and this is the formation of this lariat, which is the characteristic feature of group 2 introns of ribozymes. So this is how this post-transcriptional modification occurs. And let's conclude this slide. Initially, 5' capping and poly A tailing is added to the RNA transcript to protect the mRNA from digestion by nucleases in the cytoplasm. Second is 5' cap is added to 5' end, and the poly A is added to 3' end. Regions known as exons contain coding ones, whereas introns are actually the junk DNA, or it is the intervening sequences which need to be removed. And then these spliceosomes are made up of RNA, and they remove the introns and they cut the, after cutting the introns, they join the remaining exons together. And then the sliced out introns are recycled outside, and the new mature RNA, very, very important, transcript is now ready to exit through a nuclear pore into the cytoplasm. Means it's like this. If I have to summarize this, say this is RNA, this is 5' capping, this is 3' tailing. These are the introns. They form this type of structure, which is spliceosome. This spliceosome goes off, and what we get is, we get this mRNA, which is now able to undergo translation. This is a very small topic, but it is a very important topic also.